We all know that one person. They speak with confidence, but everything they say is wrong. They talk for the sake of talking, not knowing what they're saying. You know you're right. You know the facts. And yet, somehow they walk away looking like the winner. Why? Because arguments are rarely won with facts alone. Arguments are won with strategy, control, and psychology. If you want to be taken seriously, if you want influence, if you want to lead or win a high-paying job, then you must master the art of winning arguments, without losing your temper, without sounding arrogant, and without looking like a fool. This is more than just debate tactics. This is about training your mind to operate like a professional, calm, sharp, and persuasive, even when under pressure. And by the end of this guide, you'll know exactly how to do that. Most people lose arguments before they even start. Why? Because they're emotionally reactive. The moment someone disagrees with them, they feel personally attacked. Their heart rate goes up. They speak faster. Their face changes. Their body tightens. At that point, you've already lost. Because when you lose emotional control, you give away your power. You give it to the other person. Your first lesson in mastering any discussion is this: never respond emotionally. It doesn't matter if you're right. It doesn't matter if they're wrong. What matters is how you look and sound while you speak. If you look desperate to win, you've already lost. So, how do you stay calm when every part of you wants to explode? Here's a simple but powerful technique: the role model method. Choose a person, real or fictional, who never loses their cool. Someone you admire for their discipline, composure, and self-control. This could be a famous leader, a mentor you've met in real life, or even a character like Ayanokoji from Classroom of the Elite. When you feel your emotions rising, pause. Visualize your role model in that exact moment. Ask yourself, what would they do right now? Would they shout? No. Would they rush to defend themselves? No. They'd stay silent. They'd observe. They'd speak with precision. This mental trick trains your brain to mimic their calmness. And this isn't just theory. According to psychologist Albert Bandura, this boosts something called self-efficacy, your belief in your ability to handle difficult situations. That belief? It directly improves performance under pressure. Now, let's say the role model technique doesn't work fast enough. You're still heating up. There's one more tool you can use, and it's backed by neuroscience. It's called emotional labeling. When you feel an emotion rising, anger, frustration, embarrassment, simply name it. Not out loud. Silently in your mind. Say to yourself, I am feeling irritated. I feel attacked. I am angry. Why would you do this? A 2007 study in psychological science found that labeling emotions reduced the activity in the amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for fear and emotional reactions, and increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic and control. In simple terms, labeling your emotion helps your brain move from reaction to reflection. It makes you think more clearly. Every argument has a rhythm. Some people try to rush through, hoping to overwhelm you. Others speak slowly to make you feel unsure. But here's the secret. The person who controls the tempo of the conversation controls the power. Watch closely. When your opponent starts hesitating, repeating points, looking confused, that's your moment. Speed up slightly. Reduce your pauses. Ask sharper follow-up questions like, can you clarify what you mean? How does that connect to your earlier point? Do you have a specific example? This puts pressure on their short-term memory. And when the brain is overwhelmed, mistakes happen. Their argument falls apart. But what if someone tries this against you? Simple, slow the tempo down. Ask clarifying questions. That buys you time. It also exposes weaknesses in their argument. There's a principle in behavioral economics called anchoring. Here's how it works. The first strong statement in a conversation tends to dominate people's perception, even if it's flawed. So if you open with a powerful, clear, and emotionally loaded point, people are more likely to believe it even as the conversation moves on. This is why politicians always begin with bold promises or strong opening lines. They're setting the anchor. To use this, start with a short, striking statement. Repeat it throughout the conversation. Frame everything around it. But, and this is critical, be mindful of who you're speaking to. Anchor in a direction that aligns with their values or it will backfire. Many people win arguments not because they're right, but because their opponent doesn't know how to identify logical tricks. Here's one of the most common. Ad hominem. Instead of attacking the idea, they attack the person. Example. Imagine Sarah Palin criticizes a nuclear policy, and Obama responds by saying, she's not an expert on nuclear issues. That may be true, but it doesn't answer the criticism. That's a fallacy. Another one? Straw man. When someone twists your argument into something ridiculous and then attacks that instead. Your job is to spot these fallacies and calmly call them out. Say something like, "I'd prefer we focus on the argument rather than personal attacks." Or, "That sounds like a misrepresentation of what I said. Let's clarify the point." You don't need to sound angry. You just need to sound sharp. Humans are emotional creatures. Even if someone agrees with your facts, they won't remember them. They remember stories. Let's say you want to argue that Brexit led to economic disruptions. You could quote data, or you could say, "Look around Brexit Britain. Cars are lined up outside petrol stations. Families are worried about having a turkey on the table for Christmas. This doesn't feel like a strong economy. This feels like a slow breakdown." Which one do you think people remember? When making a point, add vivid imagery, real people, consequences, and if you want to go even further, mention families and children. Those emotional triggers make your message land harder. What if I told you? Can you make your opponent like you even while disagreeing with them? The trick is positive reinforcement. If they say something valid, even slightly acknowledge it. Say, "That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Interesting perspective." This lowers their defenses. It makes you look reasonable. It makes your audience side with you. It also disarms their aggression. Now they feel less like they're fighting you and more like they're solving a problem with you. And in debates, this shift can change everything. The worst way to end an argument is to walk away emotionally drained. The best way? Leave your opponent and audience thinking. End with a question like, "If you were in my position, would you think differently? Do you believe that principle should apply to everyone? Would you be open to considering another angle?" This creates mental momentum. Even if you haven't won the argument, you've planted a seed. And that seed grows long after the discussion ends. Winning arguments isn't about ego. It's about mental discipline, emotional control, and strategic thinking. Most people argue to be right. The wise argue to be effective. And if you take these techniques seriously, you'll win more than arguments. You'll win respect. You'll win influence. And eventually, you'll win leadership. If this guide taught you something valuable, imagine what would happen if you applied these strategies in your job interviews, business deals, or relationships. Now is the time to train your mind. Because in a world full of noise, the calmest voice always wins.